Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to this week's reading sessions. Today we're just going to read to the end of the chapter we started last week and have one reason for read from our rainbow, and that's going to be about stating predictions. And I think you'll see when I get to the end of this chapter that as a reader we've got a lot of information to kind of infer what might happen next. So I'm just going to read those next few pages, and then on Thursday we'll do a normal 3-part reason for read session. And as I said on the team meeting this morning, I'd really like to finish this book by half term. Okay, so if you can see there on the screen the picture of Mr. Chamberlain, and he was making that telephone call to Billy Byron, thanking him for his good work, that he contributed to peace, and he didn't shoot that soldier many years ago at the Battle of Marcoing when he had the chance to. And that kind of left us a bit confused as a reader, because we really feel for Billy, and Billy thinks he's done the wrong things. So I'm going to start off reading the sentence underneath the picture at the end of the phone call. That was it. He put the phone down. As you can imagine, Billy walked home from the factory that day in a daze, a spring in his step, cock a hoop with new hope. All right, so the Fritz soldier whose life he had saved had been Adolf Hitler, but maybe, after all, just maybe, it didn't matter. Perhaps he had done the right thing all those years before, and Hitler might not be the ogre that Billy and everyone else seemed to believe he was. The man did have a heart. Maybe there really might be peace in our time, as Chamberlain had promised us, and if so, then he, Private Billy Byron, might even have helped to make it happen. Chamberlain really phoned him up? Ma interrupted him. Just like that? How do you know that? How do you know it's true? Because Billy told me himself, said the stranger. All of it, and Billy don't lie. Like I said, I know him. I've knowed him just about all my life. He keeps a lot to himself, but he don't lie. He don't make stuff up. He's not like that. Is that the end of the story? I asked him then. To be honest, I was disappointed. I wasn't that bothered if the tale was true or not. I liked exciting endings, and to end on a phone call wasn't exactly exciting, no matter who it came from, whether it was the Prime Minister or not. But more important, I remembered then that there was only one more match left, and the train was still stuck in the blackness of the tunnel. I needed the story to go on, to be longer. I needed something to take my mind off the darkness. No, it's not the end, the stranger replied. But that would have been the best ending, son, wouldn't it? The happy ever after ending. After ending, peace in our time, no more war. That was the ending Billy wanted, the ending we all wanted. I wish I could make it a happy ending for you, but one way or another, things didn't quite work out like that, as you know. They often don't. Otherwise Coventry wouldn't have been blitzed, and your house would still be standing, and you and I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be telling you this story. The ending may not be the ending you want, son, but I can promise you one thing. It won't be the ending you expect. He paused for a while before he went on. Anyway, he began again, it looked like things would work out, for a while at least. Billy was almost his old self after that phone call. He began drawing once more, birds mostly, in particular a woodpecker that came again and again to the garden. Black and white he was, with a flash of bright red behind. Christine was overjoyed at the changing him. She had her Billy back. They started going out to the pictures again. But the trouble was that every time they went, there was another of those newsreels to sit through, and every time they showed soldiers on the march, German soldiers, thousands of them, and Hitler was up there on the screen, and he wasn't talking peace. Still, despite that, Billy went on hoping for the best. Suppose we all did. But then, when was it? In March last year, 1939, Hitler marches his soldiers into Czechoslovakia, occupies the whole country, and Billy knows then what we all knew, that his jack-booted army wouldn't stop at Czechoslovakia. We all realise now, and Billy did too, that the piece of paper that Chamberlain waved in the air that day was worthless. We'd all been fooled. We'd all believed what we wanted to believe, what Hitler wanted us to believe. But after the invasion of Czechoslovakia, we all knew the truth. We all knew what was coming. It wasn't a case anymore of if there was a war, it was when. And remember that point when you come to the sentence work at the end. It's as if now we can almost see a change, a twist in the story and how Billy might react. Time and time again, Billy and Christine saw him on the newsreels in the cinema. Hitler shaking his fist at the world, Hitler swaggering, hectoring, bullying, threatening. Billy saw the endless parades of strutting, goose-stepping soldiers, of tanks rolling by, the skies full of warplanes, and always Hitler was standing there, revelling in his power and hungry for more. Billy knew for sure what we all know now, that here was a tyrant, a man of evil, who only had one thing in mind, to make war, to conquer and destroy. All Billy could think now was that somehow this man had to be stopped, that 20 years before he had done the wrong thing, and now he must do the right thing. He had to right the wrong he had done. He decided once and for all what he was going to do. He thought of the thousands and millions and maybe of little Christines out there. It would just be like it had been before in the last war. He had to stop the suffering before it began. That was all there was to it. He had no choice. Billy went alone, never said a word to Christine. He just walked out of the house early one morning as if he was going to work. But he didn't have his lunch in his bag. He had other things. He had his passport and papers, some money, and hid it away in the false bottom of the suitcase, the pistol from the biscuit tin under the bed. In his jacket pocket he had his lucky black pebble from Bridlington. He had his box of pencils and his sketchbook too. And his little folding stool strapped to his suitcase. He had everything he needed. They were all part of his plan. He thought it through, down to the last detail. Billy knew he would need all the luck he could get for the plan to work. He left a note on the mantelpiece telling Christine that he had something he had to do, something that wouldn't wait, that he would be back in a couple of weeks or so. In the note, he asked her to go to the factory to tell Mr. Bennett that he'd be off work for a while, to tell him it was his gammy leg giving him trouble again, to tell him he was sorry. She wasn't to worry, he wrote. He'd be back, and he loved her. He always had done, and he always would. And I want to leave it there because that's quite an important part of the story, and a lot of aspects probably going on in your mind now as to what kind of frame of mind Billy's in and what do you think is going to happen next. So just to finish our session for today, we're going to go to the rainbow. And I just want us to focus on the analytics layer, and we're going to focus on this stating predictions. So pause the video, grab a pencil and paper. I've seen a few sentences on Dojo of your book talk sessions, but I'd love to see some more, please. And the sentence starter I'd like us to use is this one. It is easy or difficult, and you can pick which one you want to use there, to predict what will happen next because. And can you go back in the video to the text and find out what are you going to use to support if you think it's easy what you think is going to happen next, or maybe you're not sure. And our bonus word is prioritise. That's quite hard to fit in there, so don't worry if you can't squeeze that in. 1 mark for using the sentence starter, 1 mark for answering it, 1 mark for finding relevant evidence, remember not too long evidence, and a bonus 4th point if you get the word prioritise in. And I look forward to seeing your sentences, so just 1 today, and then later in the week we'll carry on reading it and move on to the next chapter.